I'll offer up my computer in a heartbeat. Just like with my phone logs and everything else, anything that could possibly help. That's why we've set up websites and been making phone calls and trying to get a hold of people. I had such a limited number of people that I was actually trusting at that point, thinking maybe they could help, maybe they'd have some insight. I didn't want to involve a bunch of people that maybe didn't know the situation.
I asked you this at the onset and asked you before we went on tape, and I'll ask you again just to make sure we're clear. Is there anything about this story that you're telling me that is untrue, or is there anything that you want to change or divert from what you've already told me?
No, sir.
Did you cause any injury to your child, Caylee?
No, sir.
Did you hurt Caylee or leave her somewhere, and you're worried that if we find that out, that people are going to look at you the wrong way?
No, sir.
And you're telling me that Zenaida took your child without your permission and hasn't returned it?
The last person that I've seen with my daughter, yes. She used to talk about people all the time, but would never use specific names or really go into any detail about anything. And again, it never seemed weird. Some people are just very particular about giving out details or specific details about other people. So I understood all of that, but looking back at stuff now, the privacy, the way she was a little bit changing phones, and it didn't seem right whatsoever.
More of those blockbuster audio tapes released. We are taking your calls. Take a listen to this.
Basically, if you're trying to fabricate a story to kind of make something look a little bit better, now's your time to tell me. Are you telling me that this is the story you want to stick with?
That's the truth. It's the story I'm going to stick with. Yes.
Okay. In your own words, let's go back. Your daughter's name is Caylee, C-A-Y-L-E-E.
Yes.
Marie Anthony. She was born August 9th.
2005.
Okay. And according to your statement back on August 9th, I'm sorry, back on June 9th, 2008, you took Casey to a babysitter's house.
Yes.
And who was this babysitter?
Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez.
How long had you known Zenaida?
Almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years Christmas this year.
And where did you meet her, or who did you meet her through?
A mutual friend. His name is Jeffrey Michael Hopkins. I met him at Nickelodeon at Universal, and I met her through him. She was his son's nanny at the time.
Does Jeffrey still work at Universal?
No, he does not.
How long has it been since he left?
About 9-10 months, give or take.
He moved back to Jacksonville?
He moved up to North Carolina for a short time and moved down to Jacksonville within the last 3 months.
When was the last time you spoke with him?
About a week and a half ago.
Okay. Do you know a telephone number for him?
I can find a number for him. I don't know a number offhand. No, I do not.
Go back to your statement. You dropped off Caylee on June 9th, and walk me through. You dropped her off to go to work? Mm-hmm. Okay. Get off of work and go from there.
I got off of work, left Universal, driving back to pick up Caylee like a normal day, and I show up to the apartment, knock on the door, nobody answers. So I call Zenaida's cell phone, and it's out of service. It says that the phone is no longer in service. Excuse me. So I sit down on the steps and wait for a little bit to see if maybe it was just a fluke, if something happened. And time passed. I didn't hear from anyone. No one showed up to the house. So I went over to J. Blanchard Park and checked a couple other places where maybe possibly they would have gone. A couple stores, just regular places that I know Zenaida shops at, and she's taken Caylee before.
You mentioned something before we went on tape about your cell phones.
Yes. I have 2 phones. I just received a new phone through work, through Universal. The phone won't keep charged, so I use my old phone that I actually had gotten, again, through Universal for work.
Okay. Did you lose a phone?
Yes.
And in that phone, you're saying was a SIM card, and the SIM card had the contact
information?
Actually,
the SIM card is in my Nokia phone, but I know there's numbers saved to the cell phone itself. So if we get the actual phone, I know I have one other number for Zenaida.
But they're not on your SIM card?
They're not saved on the SIM card, they're saved on the phone. I've been trying to figure out on that new phone how to save numbers from the phone to the SIM card and switch them back and forth. So that way I have everything all in one piece.
Okay, so the phone where you had the number saved was lost.
Yes, I filed an incident report.
But how did you end up keeping the SIM card?
I had taken it out. I know I left the phone on my desk at work after I'd switched the SIM card back to my old phone, because this was the phone that actually would keep charge. Mm-hmm. And I want to be able to have a working phone instead of having a phone that would only stay charged for about a half hour and then it would die and I can't make any more calls. It's, for me, not practical.
After you switched the SIM card is when the phone went?
I left it. I know I left it on my desk, and I hadn't been at work for at least 3 or 4 days.
And you said you made a report to Universal?
Yes, with security.
When
9 days ago.
9 days ago?
Yes.
All of that, lies. She hasn't worked at Universal in years. She didn't leave her phone on her desk. None of this happened. I want to go out to Robert Dick, former head of security for Casey Anthony. In fact, detectives are flying out to California to interrogate, to question him about what Anthony told him. That is not the story that she told you, Robert Dick. What did she tell you when you two were in the car together?
Well, Nancy, she said J. Blanchard Park, like she said in the report, but the story had changed that she had went straight to J. Blanchard Park, met Zenaida and her sister, and the sister, Samantha, had played with the kids and taken Caylee away while Zenaida held her back. I mean, it's a complete different story, just using the same people with the addition of Samantha.
But in your story, she never went to Sawgrass Apartments. She met them at J. Blanchard Park. They were all playing, and there was a mention that Zenaida Gonzalez gave her a script to go by?
Right. She kept feeding me lines to, in her mind, supposedly to help me confirm her story. But, you know, knowing most of these answers ahead of time, you could see the lies as they were trying to unravel and trying to help stop going into roadblocks where law enforcement was proving she was lying.
Did Casey Anthony tell you that Nanny told her what to say when asked about where Caylee was?
She told me that she was given a script, that she had certain lines to say to law enforcement and whoever asked questions for the next 30 days.
My one goal is, regardless of how it happens, like I said, I don't care. I will lie, I will steal, I will do whatever I can to find my daughter. I put that in my statement, and I mean that with all of my heart.
Did I give you any money that day?
No. I would not have sold my daughter. If I wanted to really just get rid of her, I would have left her with my parents, and I would have left. I would have moved out. I would have given my mom custody.
And there's the issue of pillow talk. How many people she spent time with. Tony Lazaro, Ricardo Morales, Jesse Grund, Tony Rusiano. Will that come into evidence? Is there any privilege that would keep what she told her various lovers about the scenario? Take a look at what she said to Jesse Grund. I remember a phone conversation I had with Casey. I asked her to come to the nightclub. I asked where was Caylee. She said she was with the nanny at the beach for the week or the weekend. Later on, Casey says, if my mom or dad try to call you, don't answer. I'll explain later. There are a lot of guys the police have to interrogate. Let's unleash the lawyers. Joining us tonight, Renee Rockwell out of Atlanta, Alan Ripka out of New York. Is there any privilege, Alan Ripka, that would keep their testimony from coming in at trial?
Absolutely not, Nancy. Anything that's asked of these people, if they want to respond, they can and they will. And they'll be called to court to refute anything she has to say.
Renee?
Doesn't come in, Nancy, just like all that rambling in the police department doesn't come in either, I don't think.
Well, why wouldn't what she said to a boyfriend come into evidence?
I'm sorry, there's no way to keep it out from coming in.